Hi, Homeworthy. My name is Lindsey. Welcome to my house in Calabasas. I can't wait to show you around.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
My name is Lindsey Colhoun. I'm an interior designer, and we're at my home in Calabasas, California. I bought this home 7 years ago and love the area, love that I'm so close to Santa Barbara, Malibu, kind of have everything at our fingertips here. What drew me to the house was the area. I loved that the house needed a complete remodel. I was definitely looking for something that I could put my own touch on and transform, not something that was already done. So when I originally got this house, this room was opened up into one really long room. It's really hard to furnish a long room, so I actually closed this up and created like a little bar, den, hangout area. We use this a lot as a game room. We pull the chairs up. We do family game nights. We have friends over. It also looks out into the backyard. We open the doors and windows and really have that kind of indoor-outdoor feel. I think that a lot of spaces become a lot cozier when they're smaller. So I was really happy about this move in the house, closing the room up. People were saying, you're crazy, you're closing it up, you're making it smaller, but it really feels like intimate and cozy. I found this vintage cabinet that I fell in love with. I love the old leaded glass and old hardware. It was originally a different color. I painted it, and then I have a lot of my collected little random objects that I found throughout the years, an old vintage radio that my dad gave me, again, some of my favorite designers, coffee table books. Everything that I have really has some sort of meaning behind it. I don't believe in just throwing things on a shelf to make it look pretty. I mean, yes, I have pots and vessels for texture, but I think it's cool when everything has a little story behind it. I have objects like this little funky cat that I found while camping one time. There were all these junkyards and we were sifting through things and found this little random cat. So here he is, and he lives in my cabinet and I appreciate and love him. I found this lamp. I love the height and the shape of it. I love the juxtaposition of the very industrial brass base with the very vintage woven top. Again, I love texture, dimension, working with earth tones. I think even the matting of these old pictures is so cool. So I just kind of went with this black and white sepia photo vibe for this wall, which I feel lends itself to the feeling of this room. This sofa is a vintage Swedish iconic sofa. I got it from one of my favorite dealers in Texas, and he has it recovered in Sherpa. It's so comfortable, and the great thing about Sherpa is you stay warm in the winter and cool in the summer, so it's very practical. I also really went with an all Sherpa vibe in here by adding 2 other chairs to the mix, a vintage rug that I found, this very industrial, cool coffee table. This is my signature candle. I have a scent that I've developed that we carry in my shop, Haven, and my clients love the scent. I love the scent. Both of my kids are avid tennis players, so I had a little collection of vintage rackets. I definitely went a little moodier in this room. I feel like a den in a small space lends itself. I often set this up as a bar, hangout room. This is definitely the room that I would probably throw a really wild textured wallpaper, dark wallpaper in. But a room like this and even a powder room are rooms that I feel have a little bit more leeway to have a little bit more fun with. Coming from the den, we're gonna head into the kitchen. So this room at one time had another bowling alley effect. So it was really long. I've since added a bedroom behind it. We'll get into that later. But what I did with this room is when I originally had the house, there was a very small kitchen. I've opened it all up and made one kitchen with a double island. This kind of serves as like a bar area, vegetable sink, ice machine. It's very kind of, one thing you will notice is I don't have a dining room table. At one time it was here, but we honestly always sit at the island. So we sit at both islands. And then I have outdoor dining. In California, we're lucky enough that it's beautiful so many days of the year. So really, whenever I have big gatherings, we'll either pull a table into the living room or den and transition it into a dining room, but day to day, this is how we live. So again, very functional here. These are my mixing bowls and my cups and my little pots that I use for sauces or berries or everyday eating, mixed with a few of my little fun finds, but I like everything very useful and functional. And then moving into my kitchen, again, this was all reworked and opened up. I feel like this is the heart of the home, and I'm really physically in the center of the home here and can kind of see everything that's going on. I love to cook, I love to entertain. I have 2 kids that are 16 and 18, and we kind of gather here every night and morning and catch up. So these are some vintage factory lights that I found. I'm kind of big on mixing my lighting and style. I wanted a very clean feeling kitchen, but also to have a little bit of warmth and character. So I love mixing even, you know, an old breadboard or old vintage pot for my spoons. This is a German ceramics line that I have sourced, and we're the only people in the US to carry them. And they make these beautiful onion and potato pots and bread pots, and they're just beautiful. So I really like to have my herbs and my greens and vegetables and breads kind of as part of my kitchen and display. So I really, you know, like to go to farmer's market and what are we going to eat for the next week or so, and really have those fresh items out. And I think they're also beautiful to look at. Because I love to entertain, I love the double island. The second island faces my backyard, and oftentimes I'll create that as a big buffet table, and then it relates to what can also be a bar space. So I really think about functionality in all of my design, not, oh, we're just throwing another island. There's multi-function and reasons to why, you know, I've done certain things, and it works on the lifestyle that myself and my family live. When I'm designing a client's home, oftentimes we're considering, what do you do? Who's over? How are you living? Because if this house was for somebody else, it might be designed in a very different way. So there's a lot of intention and thought into every move I make in every area and how it's lived in and how it's designed. The hardware, I really mixed up all over the place in here. I have extended cup holes and elongated pulls and knobs. I think in a kitchen, when you have all the same hardware, it doesn't feel very custom. So our trick when we're working on a kitchen is to really mix up the hardware, and it just gives it that extra vibe of feeling super custom and unique. My personal style is definitely one of more understated luxury. I'm more of like a jeans and t-shirt girl and pretty casual. So I think my personal style as well as my design aesthetic follows that same kind of casual but really comfortable with a slightly elevated aesthetic. I grew up with a mom who was an interior designer and a dad who really loved architecture. So from a young age, I was very much into homes. I worked in fashion for a long time and then segued into interior design and home renovations. I also love architecture and design. I'm able to combine so many of my creative talents and endeavors into homes, so it's very exciting. Welcome to my living room. When I moved into this house, it's a tract home in Calabasas. My goal was to make it feel a lot more custom. So I took the fireplace, I refaced it, I opened up doorways. I've renovated every square inch of this house to make it feel like a more charming, original, custom home instead of a generic tract house. So I can walk you through a lot of things that I've done here. I've added curtains. I like to place them pretty high to make the room feel taller. I don't have super high ceilings here. I've really worked with dimension and scale to make it feel inviting and warm and comfortable. This is a custom sofa that I worked with my manufacturer on, and again, layering textures and different fabrics. These are some vintage chairs that I actually found at a garage sale for $15, and I had them recovered. I used vintage hemp rugs that were probably 30 times more than the chairs themselves. And then I also used painter's cloth. My upholsterer laughed at me and thought I was crazy, but I kind of wanted a nubby, worn feel. So I reworked these chairs. I paired a little vintage stool with some rustic tables. I like little unique details. I like mixing a little bit of traditional, a little bit of industrial. I love that eclectic feeling. This is a Danish wood coffee table. I like mixing different eras together. You know, all in all, I really appreciate a clean feeling, but still like the warmth and texture of and the juxtaposition of old and new. So there's a lot of that reflected. You know, everything that I have in here is collected and found, and things that I love. I love to, I think less is more. And this is one of my favorite photographers, Michael Haber. This is a beautiful crystal that I was gifted. Pot that I found in Round Top, Texas, that's from Turkey. A lot of finds that I get, you know, whether it's a really cool vintage store. I found this old cabinet and this iron lamp. So I think just mixing it all together where everything is very different but kind of goes together. So my vision for my home space and furnishing is definitely more of like an understated California relaxed vibe. I like things put together and a little bespoke, but I like it to be very casual at the same time. So I think mixing textures and different earth tones, I'm able to create that vibe. So my main goal was to be able to entertain, have friends and family over, and have a house that had a lot of purpose and meaning. Each room in this house we truly use. There's so many homes I've lived in that spaces aren't really utilized, and I love that I can tell you every square inch of this house has purpose and value. The fireplace behind me was originally just a brick fireplace that at one time I painted white, and now it's been refaced with this stone. I love using a mix of this flagstone and this product on the fireplace. I do an overgrout detail, so it gives it that kind of like European old world, but still really clean feel. I love the texture and dimension and earthiness that it has. So it's definitely a go-to product in many of the homes that I design. But I elongated the fireplace and just played with the shape a little bit. And yeah, I'm really happy with it. I opted for kind of a just very plain looking piece of art here. Again, a little bit of texture and dimension. Sometimes I have a hard time committing to art. I like such a wide range of art. I like pop art. I like really vintage moody art. I like textured art. And I often change out my art a lot in my home. Because you can see the living room from the entrance, I didn't want a statement when you walked in, rather something like soothing and soft feeling. So again, I love greenery in homes, and this tree brings a little height and life into the living room. I sourced these pots in Texas. Again, a careful mix of like vintage, rustic, clean, new. I'm always trying to strike that balance of sophisticated, earthy, but not too bohemian. A lot of the spaces we design, I really focus on a timeless element. I think when you stick to neutrals, whether it's a light floor or a darker floor, but you really have clean backgrounds, you really have the ability to accessorize and add. If things become more moody and colorful, you can add, pillows and blankets or certain art to really reflect that and change with the times. So I find that keeping a house that's a little more transitional doesn't get me stuck in a certain era, and I can kind of evolve with what I might be into at the moment. I find in general, I always like a balance of a little bit of earthy, a little bit of traditional or transitional, or all the different looks, but there's times that I gravitate towards a little bit more color or a little bit more neutral. So I just find a clean home structure. You can really evolve in all sorts of different ways. Now you've seen the main living space, let me take you into the primary. Welcome into my primary bedroom. This was an add-on to the house. I borrowed space from the long bowling alley room I told you about with the second island, and created I wanted a sanctuary, a really comfortable room, but I had a very limited amount of space I could work with. So what I wanted for my bedroom is I really wanted a cozy sanctuary where I could just relax and unwind. I love the really soft earth tones. This is an end of bed blanket and custom pillows that I create. We sell them in my shop Haven. I wanted it very clean and simple in here. I always wanted a vintage fireplace. So I had this old vintage fireplace turned into an electric. It warms up, it's really comfy and kitschy, and the logs kind of light up, which I love. And mixed with some mid-century Swedish vintage lamps, and then kind of keeping it earthy with my rustic wood. I'm really big on comfortable mattresses and bedding. I love nest bedding, and I love buffy sheets. So I've incorporated that into as well as my custom bedding. My room overlooks my backyard. I love bringing the outside in. So I have a tree in the corner of my room. I think wherever I can get greenery and it looks natural and inviting, I'm all for it. So this room was really meant to be very like Zen, simple, have what I need. Okay, so transitioning into my closet. This is kind of the fun part of this room, this is the space I borrowed off the kitchen area. And this closet and bathroom were previously accessible on the other side of the house as a guest room. So I really worked with the space that I had, and I was able to get my custom closet in here. I can sit down, do my makeup. I could even sit on my laptop and check my emails in the morning. But I love an area where you can get ready and kind of still be relaxed in that space. I did a custom wet room, so I have a shower, rain head, bathtub. Really use this all the time. I love a good bath. Double vanities with drawers. Again, everything custom designed and built. So I was really happy that I was able to have a proper master suite with such limited space. I think that a space that you sleep in, it's really nice that it's really zen and clean and doesn't have drawers and dressers and all the things in it. It feels very relaxing. So I'm really happy with how this space turned out. With my bathroom, I really wanted to have it feel very clean, but also a sense of warmth. So I opted for a Taj Mahal stone. This is leathered Taj Mahal. It really dulls the stone and takes out a lot of the yellow, but it still has some like grays and taupes in it. And then I pulled those grays and taupes with the tile in the bathroom. This is a stone tile. Again, just going for that like clean, but a little bit of warmth to it. I mixed it with more of like a traditional style faucet and a very clean, more organic, modern white oak vanity with iron hardware. I'm really big into mixing woods and metals. So I don't believe in a bathroom everything needs to be polished nickel or black or gold. I oftentimes mix it all together in a kitchen, a bathroom, whatnot. Same thing with woods. I feel like clients often get caught up like, well, this wood go with this wood. I mean, in nature, you see all different colors. You see a lighter wood and a darker wood, and it's all what gives depth and dimension and texture. So I love bringing that into homes as well. So I'm really into the mix of those materials, and it can be done in a simple way, but still have a pretty powerful impact. The great thing about our primary suite is it's connected to the backyard. Let me take you there next. Okay, so the backyard was also part of my recent renovation, and again, really wanted that indoor-outdoor feeling. We spend a lot of time out here. We sit around the fire pit at night. We grill and we eat dinners out here. There was no getting around the shape of my pool. I was not thrilled that it was kind of a kidney shape, so I did concrete, completely redesigned this yard to add pebble and concrete. I added a step here. I played with elevations, dimensions, stone. This backyard was a lot of work. Added retaining walls around my hillside. I have vegetable gardens. I have my roses, my hangout area above the pool. At one time it was a really awful fountain that came into the pool that looked like a Disneyland ride. So I've really made this like a cozy, comfy place to entertain. I've had some great parties here. This can really hold a lot of people, even though it's not a huge space, but it's very, I guess, well thought out with how we have laid it out. I've incorporated a couple of fountains back here. I love the sound of running water. It's really soothing to lay out up here. I have like views of the mountains around, and it's definitely my happy place to kind of hang out and unwind back here. Back here I have a mix of olive trees, white roses, and Mexican feathergrass. I have lavender, rosemary, mint. I kind of kept it simple, so I like a cohesive design, but I still like the mix of different textures. In November of last year, I opened my first retail store called Haven. A haven is really a sanctuary and a safe space. It's named after my daughter, Haven, so it's kind of a double entendre, and that's my flagship store. Now you've seen my house, let me take you to my store. Next, I'm going to take you to my cute little shop, Haven, located in Agoura Hills in the Wizen Center. Come on. Welcome to my store. I'm going to show you around. So the inspiration behind this store is basically a glimpse into what we do in homes when we design them. We're really particular about color, texture, warmth, less is more. but still having that really grounding, warm, yummy energy. So we've done a little capsule of this shop to reflect that, and have all kinds of items from one-of-a-kind vintage pieces that we rework into tables, candles, pillows, small selection of furnishing pieces, but mostly gives you the lifestyle and vibe of what we like to create. We have a lot of our favorite scents. I think in a home, the way things smell is a really big deal. So I like really clean, fresh, but rich smells. So we have a selection of perfumes, hand lotions, and all of my favorite scents. I love life and greenery. I'm not into fake plants. So that's another thing that we really display, is how we like to incorporate life and bring the outside in. In California, everything's very indoor, outdoor, and really understated and comfortable. So again, everything from hemp pillows to our favorite scents, nail creams, soaps, candles, vintage lighting, some mid-century reworked furnishings, and one of my favorite artists, who's actually a friend, so we display some unique art. Finding a space was not that big of a challenge. I've always loved this center Wizen. It has a really rootsy, warm vibe, and there's a lot of home stores and hardwood floor, tile, kind of everything home. So when I saw this space, I knew it was mine and I wanted it. So it was very, very bland and very cold, and I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of even a challenge for me. I was thinking, how can I take this space and really give it the warmth and the vibe that we want? And we accomplished it. We did it in about 5 weeks. And paint color was the hardest thing to get, but we nailed it. And these are all our custom blended colors. This is our olive brown, our cream that we develop. Paint looks different in every home, so colors really plays into what's outside, what color are the floors, what color is the lighting. So we really had to kind of play off all of these elements in here, but we painted the rafters certain colors to make them pop a little bit and not make them as industrial feeling. I added a vintage wood door. Have pops of our gold hardware. I have my custom curtain collection that I have with my curtain vendor. So we have those displayed in the front and the back. So we also offer a sampling of our custom creations. With my design firm, Lindsey Colhoun Design, we design a lot of custom furnishing for our clients. So in the store, we have a small sampling of certain items that we design. So this is a custom bed that we offer in a couple fabrics with the extended headboard. I have custom pillows made. I work with vendors to get our own unique pillows made also. Again, just working on texture and dimension, but still a really clean look. In the store, there's really a wide range of items that sell. I mean, we're pretty focused since we're a home store. Pillows, blankets, candles. I think for the most part, people come in and they want a little piece of the feeling of the store. So oftentimes a small candle or even a keychain. We have all sorts of lifestyle products, but really everything across the board sells. I definitely have a knack for chairs. I love chairs. They can be architectural. I kind of can't get enough chairs in my life, so I love like an old, worn, vintage chair. People come in here and kind of surprises me. People that I think wouldn't appreciate vintage, like gravitate towards it, sit in it, lie in it, get comfortable in it. I always love a great vintage chair. Another item that I really love in the store is our selection of beeswax candles. There's so many benefits that are positive about burning them. They're very clean. I feel like that's a really good natural. I also love the smell. And then, down to little French vintage pots and just little sweet touches. In the design that I do in homes, everything's really about texture and layering and different heights. I love vintage wood spoons. Again, just bringing like an earthy element in, even if it's something that you don't use, but I'm not one who's big on decor just for decor, so I like it to be relevant, like a big vintage spoon collection in your kitchen, or again, playing with different heights, risers. I love, a great vessel or bowl to display herbs or florals or greens. And again, we're just kind of working with all of the colors that we like to exemplify in our projects. So, I'm really big on using color that you can get from nature and earth, and using rusts and greens and grays and taupes. And I feel like that really gives depth and dimension. What makes a home come alive are the people who are in it, the pets that are in it, and the love and the friendship and the experiences and traditions that you have in a home. So it was really important for me to create a home that I could make all those things happen. Home means like a safe sanctuary where you can relax, you can unwind, you can entertain, but to me it's really just a safe, cozy, happy place. Homeworthy, it was so much fun shooting my house in Calabasas, but it's time to go now. Bye.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.